All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled Taber Town Council meeting for May 8th, 2023. Call the meeting to order and ask for the adoption of the agenda. Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopts the agenda as amended to allow for the opportunity to undertake closed session items prior to the timing of delegations at 5 p.m.
All right, thank you. Amended agenda item on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Ms. Van Ham, if you wouldn't mind introducing your guest, just tell us a little bit about your guest there for council, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, Council. We are happy and honored to have Alora Eglund here, and she's working on her office administration practicum through Portage College. So we have her for 3 weeks. This is embarking upon her second week in our department. So thank you for welcoming
Very
her.
good, and welcome once again. Thank you. All right, item 3, no public hearings. Adoption of minutes, item 4.1, minutes regular meeting of council, April 24th, 2023. Mr. Thibault.
The minutes are in front of council for your consideration. There's nothing noted from administration.
Great, thank you. Councilor Rudd.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that council adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on April 24th, 2023 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 5, no business arising. Item 6, bylaws. Item 6.1, first reading for bylaw amendment 5-2023. Mr. Thibault.
So we're doing a first reading for a land use bylaw amendment, and I'll have Mr. Egan and Ms. Newberry come up because they can speak best to the adjustments.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
Our land use bylaw isn't a static document. It changes over time, and we tend to change it as we need to. So the particular amendment we've brought to you today is a text amendment. There's several items of text that we are amending. I have listed most of them there. The one that isn't just for clarifying or making it easier to understand the bylaw is adding of some uses. So we've added some uses such as arts and crafts studio, craft brewery, distillery or winery, animal shelter, cultural center, and then some more housing units are options for our DC4 district, which is what most people know as the Meadows. So we're looking for a first reading on our bylaw amendment today. And then if we receive that, we would bring it forward for a public hearing, which is required for all land use bylaw amendments, on the May 23rd, 2023 meeting, which is actually Tuesday because of the holiday. And then potentially we could have a second and third reading that day as well.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councilor Rudd.
Yeah, I was just going to ask a question, whether consideration was made for under the garage sale that was nicely cleaned up. And just is that going to have any effect on the advertising for the garage sales? Because that's been an issue in the past with, you know, the static advertising that people put up.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Rudd. It's not specific to the advertising. It was more specific to making sure that we have a way for people to understand what a garage sale is. It's on a residential property in a neighborhood. If you're running it in your backyard 4 or 5 days a week, 6 months of the year, you're running a home occupation, different things like that. So we haven't addressed advertising. That would remain the same. This would just give us a definition and a way to explain what a garage sale is to people.
Yeah, I thought that was very clear. And Mr. Mayor, follow up just to,
Sure.
So obviously the land use isn't going to deal with the advertising, and that's been an issue in the past. Like people don't like to see cars parked with a sign on it saying garage sale for whatever reason. And I guess it can get pretty jammed up, you know, when the season hits. So that's got to be covered under a different bylaw, does it? The advertising.
Mr. Mayor, Council, it is actually, we do have sign requirements in our land use bylaw. So it does fall under that. They aren't permitted on public property, different things like that. We do often provide a bulletin board in the Civic Center. They would be allowed to post on their own property at the time. And then anything other than that is up to enforcement, and it's usually done on a complaint basis.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Will this affect any of the projects that are just starting or ongoing or yet to be approved, or when do these all come into effect?
Mr. Mayor, Council, these would come into effect upon third reading. And then, so how it works is any projects that are approved now are just, they continue on as they were approved, and it affects any new projects.
I was just looking at some parking restrictions and that. People that have already planned stuff, they won't be now affected by these new bylaws, or?
So if I may speak to the parking restrictions, we didn't actually make any drastic changes there. We moved one section to a different section of the bylaw where it made more sense because it speaks directly to how many parking stalls are required. And then we added in some uses that were missing. So those uses before, we would have to say, okay, what's a similar use? Let's use this amount. So it shouldn't affect anybody negatively by adding those in.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I must commend you on your knowledge of this particular bylaw. I find it extremely boring. And I must commend also Councillor Rudd and Councillor Bruin for reading the bloody things. I sure didn't. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
All right, all right. All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just to continue this conversation, because it's so exciting, I was just wondering if, because there was discussion about vacant properties or buildings not being utilized in the downtown corridor, would this policy actually address that maybe question?
So no, the land use bylaw doesn't pertain to that. We have that standing item that we will are looking into methods to encourage higher utilization of those underutilized spaces.
Okay, I thought it was right in front of us, so darn it.
Yeah.
If I may add one thing, a few of the uses we've added in that haven't been there before might be something that could encourage, and they are included in the downtown area, so.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council gives first reading to bylaw 5-2023 to amend land use bylaw 13-2020.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Action items, item 7. Item 7.1, proposed renewal fit for work policy. Mr. Thibault.
So Ms. Grace Noble is going to come up and speak to this policy. Basically, it's time for its renewal. It's actually past time for its renewal. And as the background suggests, there's just quite a bit of updating and formatting content. Not so much, but any questions, Grace will speak to.
All right, thank you. Ms. Noble.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
As Darren said, most of the changes are more clerical or trying to clean it up just for clarification, ease of reading. Nothing, like the intent of the policy is the same. So if there are any questions.
All right, thank you. Councillor Rudd.
Apologize for having read this item as well. But I just know, we have to recognize in the modern work world the realities of substance abuse, and I see it's really it's addressed quite frankly in the bylaw in the policy, and it's so but as I'm reading it, I'm seeing that like, hey, I can go to work high. Nobody's going to do anything to me, and so my question around that is because certain drugs are legal now as opposed to not legal, which can affect a person's performance. What are we contemplating as a measure against that? Does a drug and alcohol policy cover that? And do we have recourse? Does it become an HR disciplinary process? Could you talk about that for a bit, please, Grace? Thanks.
So the policy does encompass, so when I talk with onboarding with new staff, for example, all of our seasonals that recently started, what we went over with the Fit for Work policy is it includes any alcohol abuse, substance abuse, whether that be legal or illegal drugs. So for example, cannabis, which is now legalized, that's kind of when OH&S really beefed up the need for a Fit for Work policy across the organizations within Alberta. So that is covered under our Fit for Work policy. Also prescription medications, because sometimes when a staff member switches prescriptions and they're operating heavy machinery, maybe there's a need for a couple of days where they're not out there actually operating the machine to keep themselves and others safe on the work site. So that's covered as well. Also fatigue, which is sometimes mentally there's other things going on in their lives outside of work, and they are not able to fulfill their job to the fullest of their extent. So we're just making sure that everyone is coming to work in a safe and professional manner, and then they're going home in a safe and professional manner as well. As to disciplinary measures, so with OH&S, if there is an actual substance abuse related situation, we are required to get that employee help. If it's more of a recreational base, that's maybe where we would look at disciplinary procedures. And there is, we have a zero tolerance for them coming to work inebriated, but those conversations would take place between myself, the manager, and that personnel.
Follow up, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, absolutely. Councillor Rudd, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just a couple of things then. So the the duty to accommodate issue, does this adequately manage those situations so we don't end up in a situation like that, duty to accommodate? And secondly, is administration happy that you've got a tool that's going to keep everyone out there safe and keep everyone out there within their proper lane? Thank you.
Okay, so with the matching procedure, that doesn't come to council for approval. There are guidelines for how supervisors and managers are to take the necessary steps and precautions as we handle the policy and handle the employees that are coming to work possibly inebriated or going through that process to make sure that they're getting the help they need, or if it's going through that disciplinary procedure. Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Yeah, just to make sure that the administration is satisfied that you can manage, and you're talking about the procedures that will do that, and then just that, have we got ourselves into a situation where duty to accommodate is going to end up costing us too much, quite frankly?
I see what you're saying.
Are you not concerned about that? You think it's strong enough that we don't end up being taken advantage of?
I think at this point in time, we are in a good place that I don't think we have a concern that staff are going to try and take advantage of this Fit for Work policy and of the town of Taber in order to accommodate them through like the Alberta Human Rights legislation and that such. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Just a clarification question, I'm sure this can help, but just to clarify, should there be some gray area issue that come up that you're not necessarily expecting at this stage, you're also able to adjust that down the road if you find that problematic as well, correct?
Yes, so we can, there are options for how to navigate. And if
Right,
we have
yeah.
to revisit the policy and procedure, we can do that as well.
All right, perfect, thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does your procedure also include if there's an incident that there's potential for testing just due to maybe the incident caused by not being fit for work?
That's a good question, and I don't have the procedure in front of me, and I don't believe that drug testing was part of it. But that's something that we can investigate or look further into.
Yeah, just to add to that, just for Mr. Tebow, I think we have had a bit of discussion about that in the past, I think, and so you cannot force anybody to take a test, right? Number one. But so it's not covered in the policy, Grace, is that what we're understanding exactly?
So drug testing is not covered under the
Okay.
policy.
Okay, very good. So I guess in that event, you're suspecting that. Are you now dealing with legal, or what's the next step in that case?
I don't want to be guessing at this point in time, but I know that there's some OH&S
Okay,
things that we would have to follow. So we can't ourselves, I don't believe we can just go ahead and say, okay, it's time to get a test because we think you're offside somewhere.
right.
So we would definitely have to be going through another body other than our own. But our procedures, again, not written in front of me either. I don't know all the details, but it does speak to things that we can do and remedies that are available to us. I also wanted to point out, seeing that there's so many questions around it, that at the bottom of the Fit for Work policy, we do tie in additional references. So this allows us a bunch of different avenues to address things. Each one of these additional references that are policies also have procedures with them. So it's tough to tell you what's in every single procedure behind every single one of these, but we're pretty confident. It's gone through all of administration. Directors look at it. Our legislative folks look at it. So we're pretty comfortable that it's covering what we need.
Okay, and I think we followed somebody else's lead on this, did we not? This was not, we didn't reinvent the wheel here. Basically, this was a follow-up on somebody else's already approved policy.
Well, it was a previous policy of ours of 2018. Before
Right.
that, I actually don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Not too many times that we just build something from scratch on
Right.
our own. So
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. Counselor Sorensen?
Yeah, and I just threw that out there because I have background in this, but I'd be prepared to make a motion.
All right, very
Mr.
well.
Mayor, that council approves the Fit for Work policy CSHR-6 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, on to item 7.2, recognition award for Amy Allred. Mr. Tebow.
So if we could get yourself and Amy to meet at the podium, I believe there's a award transfer that'll take place.
All right.
Jeez. Sorry, the customary shuffle. The customary, get out of the way.
Do not want to photobomb this.
No. Yes, she's doing great. So good.
Absolutely, yes, you bet.
Just as I attended this event, I was very proud to be there and help support Amy and this award because, yeah, it's well deserved. So congratulations.
Yeah, great, thank you. All right, someone prepared to make that motion? Counselor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the Town of Taber congratulates and recognizes Amy Allred, winner of this year's Emerging Talent in Economic Development.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried now. Thank you. All right, on to item 7.3, information for council. Mr. Tebow.
Okay, so I'll wander through the information items. As you can see, we've got an invitation from Horizons Victim Services Unit. I know we have a Victim Services Unit representative here. I didn't know if Councilor Red wanted to speak to this at all. Looks like maybe yes.
Yeah, like maybe, that's the same night as the employee recognition event, so you're all excused. And you know where I have to be.
All right, thank you. No, it's, I believe that event starts at 5. Mr. Tebow, does it not? The town event? Is that correct?
I'm getting the nod from Grace. It's 5.
Okay, so, I don't know, maybe we can slide over there, if it's not inappropriate to leave early. Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk. So anyway, thank you for the invite, for sure. That's great to know. That's annual meeting. and or related to the declaration as well, right? So if anybody can make it, great. Any other questions on that?
Okay, so the declaration is something that's new this year. That's correct, new this year? Yeah, and Carrie had put this together, and it's a recognition. So it's something separate from the Victim Services Unit. And then we could move on to, we've got the Meadows report. I don't know if there's any questions around the Meadows progress report, but this is their typical report that they provide each quarter. And the last item was the traffic minutes from the traffic committee meeting. And I didn't know if there's any questions there. I did attend the meeting, and I believe Councillor Firth was also in the meeting. So if there wasn't any questions, there's no motions required.
All right, thank you, Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to address, if I may, the declaration for the disability, disability services.
Sure, sure,
I sit
yep.
on the board of Taber Special Needs. Mr. Mayor, we have many employees who deal with individuals who are disabled.
Yes.
And they do great work, and the government actually gave substantial monies about 2 months ago to an increase of salaries for these workers because they were severely underpaid. And I commend the government for that, and I think it's a really good idea that we declare this today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just looking at the traffic committee's report here, the minutes on that. I think we discussed this previously that they decided to put up a stop sign or somewhere that will be a recommendation coming to council before it's put in place. Like, we're not gonna see a stop sign pop up somewhere without council being aware of it.
That's the question? Or a
That's my
statement?
question.
The question, okay. Who are you referring that question to,
To
Councillor?
anyone who will answer.
Okay, that is, Councillor Firth, you're okay with that? All right.
Sure. I believe that all permanent traffic control devices come to council for approval before they go up. So, yes, is the answer to your question. If there's a stop sign planned,
Thank
it
you
would
very
come
much
to
for that
council.
answer, because last thing Tabor needs is more stop signs. So,
Thank you for your opinion.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And my question is in regards to the signage in between the schools. And I was just wondering if there's going to be education campaign or, something done by the police service or department also, not only just the signage and the lights.
All right, thank you. Councillor Firth, you have any information on that?
Yeah, there was some discussion about it. Chief Abella was there as well and reviewed it and also mentioned that perhaps there needs to be some relocation of signs. So there was no talk about an education campaign, but I think that's probably not a bad idea, and maybe we can bring that up at the next police commission meeting.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely, yep, you bet.
I also have a comment in regards to the Meadows with the Rapid Housing Initiative. I was just wondering if administration had heard back on if that application was successful or not.
Administration hasn't heard back on that particular application, no. But a lack of a no is still potentially a yes.
Yeah, that's good to hear. All right. Thank you. All right, any other questions arising? All right, no motion required in that regard. No, that's, sorry, you had a question about the declaration? I think that was a declaration made by the minister, right?
Minister, yeah.
So,
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
we could perhaps make a motion to affirm the declaration, but that's about it.
Yeah, I was just taking that as information, but it's, we could certainly do that if somebody wants to initiate that.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'll move that council affirms the recent declaration for the community disability work services workers in this province.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, item 7.4, standing item council requests. Mr. Tebow?
Okay, we'll go through these. Resolution 106 and 118, the first two, still in the works. We did get some correspondence back just today, about an hour before we stepped into the meeting from a legal perspective, so we'll be able to provide an update next meeting for sure on that. Haven't been able to read it and digest it all at this point. It is a legal document and they have a tendency to be lengthy. So we will come back with that, but definitely making some steps forward in that one. Third one down, this is the fixing of the sidewalks in a temporary manner. That is actually complete. So it won't be on the standing item list next time, but the Public Works crew did go around and they grinded where they needed to. There was a lot of heaving that did settle itself down just because of frosts and all that sort of stuff. So I actually drove it myself, and Raman, I'm sure, has driven it more than once. And so from a temporary standpoint, that's looked after. I can't even read that one. I'm getting too old. Right, so the feasibility of an app, I think it was identified that this wasn't supposed to be on the standing item list because it was taken care of in the waste survey. And so this has already been assigned to the appropriate people to look after, I believe, IT through the waste survey process. So this will drop off the list, but it will be taken care of because of being on that other waste survey.
All right. Got it all covered, Mr. Tebow?
I think there's just one more on the next page, and that was the investigation of the downtown properties, and that is still ongoing at this point. We don't have a brand new idea or a fix right at the moment, but it is being looked into still.
All right.
That's it for me.
Any other questions arising on that update? All right. Any other standing item council requests? Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question. On the north end, you can hear a bang, 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 like 4 times every once in a while. And people have commented on Facebook, and I have been tagged in it a few times, and people are just wondering. And I have also heard them because I live on the north side, and so I'm just curious if it has anything to do with the turkey plant that we have over there, or does anybody know what the 4 bang? It sounds like a scheduled bang, but I don't know what that is. I'm just curious if anybody has any idea.
I had actually seen that on Facebook as well. Right now, I have no idea what that is. I'm looking around at my crew, and everyone's shaking their heads. They don't know what that is, so we would have to take that away and look into it. But I did read that on Facebook as well, but I don't know what it's about.
Okay, no, I was just curious.
Councilor McLean, was there a designated time that's happening on a regular basis that you're aware of?
It happens kind of regularly, but not super regularly. It's like every once in a while, but I don't know. I haven't recorded it yet, so maybe I should start doing that, but I don't know exactly what it is. But I was just curious to know if anybody knew. That's all good. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Councilor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I spoke to a few members of the community garden, and something that came across my desk is the Local Food Infrastructure Fund. So it's a grant that potentially maybe we could work together with them to help supply perhaps a sprinkler system or whatever they are doing, because I think they are moving to our property next year is maybe what I heard. So I was wondering if I could make a motion for administration to investigate the opportunity of applying for the local food infrastructure funding, including the community garden and any other possible partnerships for this grant.
All right, fair enough. Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Do you want that?
All right, any other standing item council requests? All All right, seeing none, I would just ask for a motion to move into closed session to deal with a couple of our closed session items prior to our 5 o'clock delegation. Councillor Beckering,
Also move, Mr. Mayor.
thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, thank you. All right, if we reconvene the meeting, please, and move on to item 8.1 for delegations, Table Arts and Crafts Society. Mr. Tebow.
I'm told we have Nancy and Carol here that are going to come up and do the presentation.
All right, good evening and welcome, ladies. Sure, you bet. She'll get you set up with a microphone here.
I'm Nancy, and this is Carol. I'm the treasurer, and she is the president of the Tabor Arts.
All right.
What we're coming today to ask you is if you would be able to consider waiving our water bill inevitably until we can see if we can gain ground. Tabor Arts has been in the negative 5,000 pretty much since I've been a member. Unfortunately, we have 17 members, and we've raised our prices to help that with our losses. We recently received some money from Betty Odman's estate. She was a member for many years, and that's kind of been, and also the money that the town of Tabor gave us just after COVID has been kind of keeping us going right now. So we were kind of doing some calculations, and with our increase in our membership and some of the money that Betty Odman has given us, we've invested that into a GIC, and so that'll give us a revenue. And then if the town could waive their water bill, which is $92 a month, we would just be in a negative of $261.13. That I think with we dig in our heels that we'd be able to cover that at least, so that we're not in the negative. And we're trying to think of some new ideas to bring in some money.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, ladies. You said you increased your fees in order to raise more funds, correct?
Yes.
So did that mean that you have less membership, or?
Not yet. We've managed to hold in. Some ladies were kind of hesitant to rejoining, but some decided to give it one more go. So thank goodness we haven't lost members because of the increase.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Follow up, please.
Sure, you bet.
What is your membership fee, may I ask?
It is $150 for what we call the basic membership. Then if you want to be in the pottery group, then it's another $50. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and how many members do you have currently?
We have 17.
17 members, okay. And that's been fairly constant for some time?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions arising? Councillor Firth?
Thank you. Have you guys considered moving into any other facilities in town?
We kind of went for a tour of the Star to see if that was a possibility. It seemed like it was kind of on the small side for what we needed for room, especially for painting, and the painters weren't too thrilled about being in a dark basement.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I mean, that's, if it came down to that, that's maybe what we might have to do.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen?
Hi, ladies. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think water isn't your problem. I think it's using the kiln and the electricity. And unfortunately, the users of that kiln should probably compensate a bit more for, using that. The more people use it, then your higher your utility rates are going to be. So I can't see this actually evening out until you kind of make sure that your membership pays the right cost of using the facilities.
Well, it's hardest on us is that keeping the power on demand. It's because we're not using the kiln that much, but because that power sits there waiting for us to use, they have to have it ready at all times. One thing that I've done is to start the kiln early in the morning, so it's not at peak hour. So I've cut down the power bill a couple $100 by doing that. If we actually calculated, there is a way of calculating how much power your kiln uses, and you can figure out how much money it's actually taking. I haven't investigated that yet, but I know there is a way. So it's more that on demand that the power companies keep there for you, that if we paid for just what we actually used, we wouldn't be in the negative, I'm sure. But yes, that's something that we might need to increase. If we figured out how much our kiln uses, that we might have to charge the pottery members more for usage of the kiln.
All right, thank you. Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also had a question about the pottery fees paid out. What is that exactly? On your profit and loss statement, it's under your expenses, so you're paying fees out. It's like $2,500. So I'm just curious what that is.
Well, the pottery, each pottery member pays per piece per firing. And so then we calculate up how much that is and how many times we fired. Then we pay that to the Tabor Arts for power. I don't know if that's...
But then you have the gas and power right underneath, and so I was just curious what the pottery fees.
Oh, gas and power, that's our bill. The pottery, that would be... Oh, yes, that's probably, yeah. It's our expenses for buying clay and glazes, and I think also the power or the usage of our pieces that the pottery members pay.
So, can I
Sure,
follow up?
yeah.
So then the people that do the pottery, then do they not, so they pay the membership fee of $200. Do they not have to pay extra to get certain, like to pay for certain pieces? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they have to buy their own clay. I go and buy a certain amount and then they buy it back from me.
Right.
But the pottery club supplies glazes that they can use, or they can buy their own if they want.
I see. Okay.
All right, thank you. Councillor Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I was on the same line of questioning that Monica had there. Looks like you doubled up there a little bit, but the pottery fees paid out and your pottery income shows 681. I don't know where the extra 1,800 is. So like the gas and power, do you recall which company you buy your power
Well,
from?
we're under the same contract with the AMSU, MSC, yeah.
Okay.
And, fees for pottery. I know that we paid $520 to, the art center for usage of, to help pay with the power. Pottery income, that's, I would say the rental room. 681. I think that income was part of the, when people bought back clay, they would pay me for clay and they would also pay for their pieces from being fired.
Yeah, it seems like you're spending more than you're bringing in on pottery, but it may be something you just a miscalculation or something there. But that's just a question that struck me. Like, boy, why are you paying so much for pottery when the other people are supplying their own or buying from you? You should be getting more income for pottery.
Well, some, like the glazes, supplies that we buy for glazes would be, I guess, not a part of, because they wouldn't pay for that. That's kind of included in their membership. So that's maybe where we're
So
losing.
your ask to us then is to help cover the gas and power and water?
No, just the water.
Just the water of the
Yeah.
$1,109.
Yeah.
That still leaves you in a deficit of about 4,000.
Yeah, well, with our investment of, with our increase in our membership fees and also with the GIC investment, that we figure, and if the water was deducted, then we would only be in the negative of 261.
All right, thank you, Councillor Beckett.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, ladies, your request is twofold, actually. The water to be waived, and also perhaps look into solar panels on the roof of the building to alleviate some of the power costs.
If that
I can
was
tell you the
possible,
town of Taber did investigate that
Mhm.
a couple of years ago.
Right,
Did not make economic sense, so we
Right.
did not proceed with that.
right.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, personally, I have no problem waiving the water fees at all. Council just approved a $250,000 grants to another society, so I think waiving the water would, it makes sense to me, Mr. Mayor, but I won't make a motion.
All right, thank you, Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm actually opposed to it. I don't think taxpayers' money should go towards a group that's just using it for recreation or for their own good. You know, and just waiving this water fee isn't gonna help the matters. Like, I think user fees has to go up. I think you have to actually re-look at the income, because next year you're gonna be back and we might be in the same boat. Unfortunately, sorry, I can't support it.
All right, thank you. I just wonder if we should consider this as council discretionary fund also as an option. It's helped before. It's coming out of a difficult time. I think I see your pain and understand the numbers, and probably lucky to stay with your existing membership, right? So that makes it difficult. If you could double that membership, that would be a world of difference, I'm sure. But that's easier said than done, I'm sure. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had one more question. From 2021 to 2022, so back in 2021, you had a huge donation income. And so I guess I'm just curious as to then how then you go from a plus $21,000 to a minus $5,000 in the next year with that. But I mean, yeah, anyways, I was just curious because like that's a huge chunk that then probably could have been carried forward, right? But
Well, it's there in the bank. It's just that from what we've spent and what our bills were, it was a negative. We still have the money that is invested from Betty Oddman's estate.
I see. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the GIC. Okay, thank you.
We're hoping to get some more classes for the community and maybe work with the adult learning to see if maybe they can help us organize. Since we're such a small group, it's hard for us to organize classes, so we thought maybe with adult learning that we'd be able to get things going a little bit better and bring in more activities for the community.
All right, thank you, Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if I understand this correctly, the town water bills for 2022 were about $1,100?
Yes.
Okay. So and I would guess that would be pretty static year to year?
Yes, yeah, the water's, it's right around that every
$100
year.
a month,
Yeah.
roughly.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, follow up?
Sure. Yep.
I think that the Taber Arts and Crafts Society does provide, it's the only organization in town that provides a place for artists to be able to come and do physical art. And I know that that is something that that's needed in the town. It's kind of a gap, I think, for arts. And I wasn't initially in favor. I was kind of thinking more along the lines of, but to me it seems that you have been trying to increase your income, that you've been doing what you can to increase your income. and it's a relatively small amount. We can't help you with your power, but I would be in favor of waiving your water bills.
All right, thank you, Councillor Broom.
Thank you. What Councillor Frith said, I would agree with the stipulation. It's a one-time, one-year deal. So, because it looks like you guys, it's hard because you went through some tough times with COVID and all that. But I'd be in favor, of course, for 1 year. Let's see how it looks next year again and go from there. Give you a chance to get things figured out.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right, someone prepared to make a motion? All right. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council waives the water consumption for the Tabor Arts and Crafts Society for 1 year. For 1 year.
I guess, all right, figure, need the figure in there? Mr. Tebow?
Or do you
Mr.
want a
Orwa,
date
that's,
for it to commence?
we got our finance expert here, Mr. Orwa. The number is probably desirable.
Oh, and where it's coming from? Right.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Tebow?
And in consultation with Ms. Van Ham, we're thinking alternative 3 might suit your needs the best. If that were the motion, we think.
Yes, indeed it would. Look at that, I just had to read one more down.
Way to go, Carrie.
You're in?
So I withdraw my motion.
All right, very good.
Thank you. And I move that council provides a grant from the council discretionary fund to cover the anticipated water consumption charges for 2023 for all water, sewer, stormwater, garbage, and recycling. Period. Full stop.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table? Mr. Tebow?
We were also thinking maybe in an amount, so the anticipated amount being that 11, what's the annual?
I think it
Oh,
just,
no.
it was just indicated if it covers it for the year, then it is what it is. whatever
All
that number
consumption
may be.
charges for 2023?
Right.
We can work with that.
If anyone needs water, you know where to go.
Councillor Rudd, you also had a question?
No, just speak to the motion. I wasn't in favor of it initially either, but this 1 year term, when I heard you talking about, we have this plan, we have that plan, you've got things you're gonna try and do to ameliorate everything. So it seems fair to me to give you that year to do that. It makes a little bit more sense to me than just writing it off for, it's a free building for starters and, so give you a chance to sort it out.
All right,
I'm in support.
thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Tebow, any media inquiries? Mr. Tebow? Any media inquiries?
There was none.
None whatsoever, all right. All right, with that, ask for a motion to move back into closed session. Councillor Beckering,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also move.
motion on the table, all in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you.